Okay, I actually did this recording and it didn't save, so we are starting all over again. So this probably will be, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes. The good news is the web page looks really good, and the bad news is there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But the good news is things can get better. But it does look really, really good. So the first thing to take into account is what Google says are the top 3 factors for ranking in Google. And most people think, you could, if you want to rank for dog food, you could just type the word dog food, dog food, dog food, and H1, headers or on the web page title and on the content. That doesn't work anymore. That used to, but that doesn't work anymore. SEO now has a lot more in common with digital marketing and things like that. So we're going to get to this stuff. So the top 3 factors. Content is number 1. And you don't have any content on your page that I could find. You have a ton of products, and that's awesome, but you need to have content. So basically what you need to do is have a blog and write, and I'll show you how to do this. It doesn't mean you have to write every day. It could be once a month. I would start off doing it once a week. But it's too hard to rank nowadays if you don't do content, unless you already have an established website. We'll get into all that. Number 2 is metadata. Metadata and schema. You do have metadata that is with a sniplet, sniplet that shows up in Google when somebody searches for your web page. Just make sure all that's accurate, but you don't have any schema set up. So let me show you. So what schema is, so the web page HTML, the code, what that does is it gives the information so the people can see. But Google, even though it's getting better, doesn't have it wants to understand the context of what it's looking at. So you could have schema. So if you had a recipe listed, you could say, okay, this is a recipe, and then Google knows it's a recipe. And when you see stuff like this, you have a better chance in getting one of these boxes up top. So, and it'll be relevant to you because you want to have schema of all your product pages saying these are product pages. And the scheme, if you have schema, there's a much more likely chance that your product will show up in one of those top boxes. So let's do this. First, let's do Best Buy by itself. And we're going to copy this product. And like if you search for something like whatever, and Google sometimes has those star ratings, that's schema. Without schema, there's no way to display those stars. So you can see organization is its Best Buy, the website, the social links, phone number. So this kind of says what this website is more so than just here's the stuff. You don't have any of this set up, and it's extremely important, especially nowadays. So if you go to, now this is a specific product page. This isn't, the home page will have, schema is different for every type of web page, whether it's a menu, whether it's a product page, whether it's a recipe, whether it's a technical document, an FAQ document, whatever. So here, so this is an image. These are the breadcrumbs up top. This is the product. You can see here's the description, here's the image for it, here's the URL, here's the description. And then you can put like model number, SKU number, here's the rating. And you won't necessarily use all these. Like they don't have reviews. If you had reviews, you could use review schema. So that we could go on for hours and hours about all these things, but I want to give you a broad overview of what I'm talking about. Now, and the third thing is performance, and that's where you can really improve things. If you do a GT, now the test that most people do their performance testing on are GT metrics, web page test, Google page speed, etc., etc. If you do yours, and when you do a speed test, you want to do it for your home page and also a product page because you can see they're different. Now, don't pay too much attention to these scores. I mean, some people look to get 100, 100. It's impossible, mainly because, well, it's not impossible, but it's very difficult because, for example, leverage browser caching, these are external assets. You can't cache these assets, so that's always going to show up and ding your score. Now, serve scaled images, you can see this image is 1400 by 600. Let me show you what it is. But it's displaying at 400 by 171. So you want to shrink that. Now let me do this. Let me show you this. I use paint.net, because it's free and it's easy. You can use whatever. You can automate a lot of this. So what I would do, let's say you wanted to keep it the same size, which could be okay, but it's at 100% quality. You don't want that because it looks better even when it's compressed a little bit. So you can see the file size is 468 kilobytes. Now, you should aim to get each image under 100. For one image, it doesn't matter, but if you have tons of these, it's really going to slow the website down. Maybe not so much on like home PCs, but specifically on mobile phones and slower old PCs. So you can see the biggest bang you're going to get for your buck is when you go from 100 to 90. See, it looks the exact same, and it's cut it by down by about over half. Now I generally can get down to about 50 without losing any quality. So look right here at the preview page. Now once you get down to about 30, you'll start to see it starts to get messed up. So sometimes I get down to 30. It just depends on the image. Generally about 50, and look how much you're saving here. It's down from 450 to 43, and it looks the exact same. So you definitely want to do that. Also for the images, you want the image file name, paperbaggroup.com. That's not a bad one, but you want to have the file name. Some people have like image3.jpg. What a lot of people don't take into account are Google image search rankings. So if you do New Orleans Saints Cup and an image, it's an image, but if you click on it, it'll take you actually to the e-commerce site. So, but if you don't have the alt text in the image name properly, it won't easily figure it out. Now, Google it'll take this into account on the page. It can figure things out, but you're making a lot harder for Google. So this is a lot of these bullet points are complete other topics that we could go on for forever, but I'm just going to highlight these. Your time to first byte is terrible. It's 2.6. That means before your server even starts displaying anything on the web browser, it takes 2.6 seconds. Generally, you want that to be under 0.5. Even under 1 is okay, but 2.6 is terrible. So no matter how optimized your web page is, because your time to first byte is so slow, your website's going to be really slow. So it's probably your hosting provider. I saw you have Cox, at least I think you use Cox, and I don't know anything about their hosting services. I use SiteGround. I love them. Never had a problem. Their support is great, so you might want to look into that, or you definitely should look into that. Cloudflare. Now, what Cloudflare is, and it has free packages. What it is let's say somebody's accessing your website, which exists in Atlanta from California. They have to download all of the web content to California from Atlanta. If you have Cloudflare working with your website, a lot of your images and things like that will be on servers in California. So, it's going to have to go back to your website to get, dynamic stuff. It gets more complicated than this. Dynamic stuff, but it will load a lot of things quicker just because it's physically located closer to the person loading the website. And they have hundreds and thousands of servers all around the world. And they have a premium account, but the free account is what most people use, and it's awesome. Now, defer async JavaScript, and if you go through your results, you can get with a developer to go through all these things that are hurting you. Now, not all of them. It's a program, so they're not all 100%. Like enable compression. I'm pretty sure you have gzip enabled, but these certain ones aren't being compressed, so you want to look into that. But JavaScript, the way JavaScript works is if you have JavaScript on your web page will load, it'll hit the JavaScript, it'll wait for the JavaScript finished, then it'll continue loading the page. If you defer it or async it, you'll load the page and it'll load the JavaScript simultaneously. Now, it's a lot more complicated than that. That'll give the appearance that your website is loading faster. So minifies the whole thing with code. You need to set cache expiry times. And these are whole other complex topics that we get into. Lazy load, this basically means it won't load images until people scroll down to see them, so your web page will appear to load a lot quicker. And you don't have a sitemap, which I found interesting. Sitemaps are what web sites use to know what's on your website. Generally, you go to, it's generally called, and you don't have anything. And if it's called something else, normally you put it in robots.txt and you'll have a little sitemap entry, but you don't have one. So I'll give you, I run a blog, which is this is kind of my playground website to test new things out. I have a sitemap, just so you can see what it looks like. So these are the posts. So this kind of just tells Google and searches how things are laid out. So you can see these are post names. So you definitely want to have that. You definitely want to submit it to Google, and do not forget about Bing. About 10% of the web traffic, I think, comes from Bing and other search engines. And mainly because I think a lot of people get lazy like I do. And if I went here and search for Saints Cup, that's going to take you to Bing. It's not going to take you to Google. So you want to submit your website to Bing. Bing has an agreement with Yahoo, I believe, so you don't need to submit it to Yahoo. Now, you might want to submit it to international search engine. That may not make sense. You might not think that makes sense because you're not going to be selling stuff to China. But if you write content that people are reading and they come across your content and they click to your website, that will increase your visitor by 1. The more visitors you have, the more likely your website will show up when people are attempting to buy stuff. That's the reason you create content. You want to attract people to your website with content that's useful and then upsell them. Even if you don't upsell them, it's more traffic to your website. The more traffic you have, the more likely your website will show up when people are looking to buy gifts or bags or whatever. So that's that. We went over the schema. Twitter rich cards. When somebody shares a link to your website on Twitter, a lot of times it'll have an image and like a little snippet. If it does, that's because they have Twitter rich cards working. If not, it'll just be like a link. So you want to have all that configured, and you want to confirm your metadata, which is the snippet that shows up under the Google search result. Now, content, which in my opinion is the most important thing. You can go to Answer the Public. This is how you get content ideas. It's just something related to your website, gift ideas. It's going to come back with a lot of stuff. So you could just multiple ways you could look at this data. You could zoom in, or you could go up here and go to data, and you could write blog posts about what are some gift ideas you could sow. Anything loosely related, because people are typing this stuff in. Now, where this text comes from, if you go to Google and type New Orleans Saints, you see how it recommends stuff? This data is coming from this Google autocomplete. So this is actually what people are searching for. So you want to write content like this, and maybe once a week, once a month. At the beginning, I would do it once a week for a couple months, and then go maybe to slow down to about once a month. But you need to have content that people will click on to get to your site. I mean, you can't really rank without content these days. I mean, it's very hard because there's so many established, commerce websites. And there's other websites, Keyword Cheater, Ubersuggest. You can use those tools as well. Compare what your competitors are writing and write more. Generally, articles that are over 100 words do best. But I would say if your competitor is writing a good article and it's 1,200 words, do about 10% more. Do about 1,300 to 1,400 words. But at a minimum, don't do any articles that are less than 400 words. Now, don't extend an article just to extend an article, because humans do review Google results, and the algorithms are getting so good. If it looks like you're just putting words in there to annoy, to increase your word count, you're going to get penalized for that, and people, frankly, are going to go away because it's extremely annoying. And so 3 of your competitors that I found are these. I would look and see what they're doing and kind of see what you feel is working and kind of mimic them a little bit. So you don't want to stuff your posts with keywords like we sell gift boxes because people like gift boxes, so buy your gift boxes, because that doesn't work anymore. You'll get penalized for it. But you do want to use your keywords about 20% more than normal, but it needs to look natural. Definitely put your keywords in the first paragraph of your post and above the fold, meaning it's on the screen what people initially see. Internal and external links are huge. If you have links to other websites, that shows Google that you're part of the internet and looks like you're a team player. And I should say, nobody knows what all of Google's factors. But this is from a lot of research from people. This is things they have mentioned publicly, and we do know links help, internal and external. Now, you do want to make sure that you check your links frequently to see if any of them are broken, and there's free tools that can do that. Anytime you write content, use the Grammarly plugin, and then after you get done there, just paste it into Hemingway Editor. Those basically will check for basic grammar and spelling errors. Or you can do it the other way around, Hemingway or Grammarly. Now, there's a Grammarly Premium plugin that's like $150 a year. I used to use that, but I don't find that it has a lot more checks, but I don't find it really that much more useful. Evergreen content, update content. If you have an article on, what are the best types of bags to ship peanuts in? What, that's a horrible example, but whatever. What you'd want to do every year, go back to that article and update a little bit, just so that updated date gets changed. So Google won't think that's stale content. An evergreen is content that can be used over and over again because it's not date sensitive. That's what your content is, so you should update it frequently. Flesh score, basically this means Google likes content, if it's not technical, that's constructed so people like in, I think it's 10th grade could read it. You can paste your text in here and see what it thinks the reading level's at, 10th grade, 8th grade. It's just common sense. Don't use big words just to use big words. Write things that the average person can read without having to have a dictionary. Now there's other sites that can do free audits, like I have a couple here, WooRank, and you got a 53, but take these things with a grain of salt. Like there's things, these free audits are people that are trying to sell you SEO tools. A lot of these things they find are no longer big deals, but they want you to think it's a big deal so they can sell you a tool. But it'll give you a good overview. No broken links were found. That's good. I don't know if that's accurate or not. See, no sitemap. That's a good thing to know. So you definitely want to fix that. Underscores and URLs. See, nobody cares about that. But they have some tool probably that'll convert your URLs not to have underscores. But you know you can get an idea. Open Graph. This is Facebook, or that's Facebook, or I can't keep them all straight. It might be Google. So you kind of just go through here and see what it recommends, but just take it all with a grain of salt. The main factor to look at is load time. But you can see here, I did it there as 5.7 seconds, which isn't horrible, but here it's 15 seconds, which is disastrous. You want to get it underneath 5 consistently. Ideally under 3, but that's difficult, but under 4 is really good. And I think you could definitely do that with the tweaks that I'm mentioning here, the ones I mentioned up top with the images, the Cloudflare, the JavaScript optimization, all that stuff. You want to have niche content. For example, let's say you were in the selling tennis shoes, because it's really hard to sell tennis shoes online nowadays, right? I mean, how are you going to outrank Nike? But you could sell tennis shoes for middle school basketball players and rank for that. Now, that doesn't mean you can't sell other stuff. Of course you can, but that's a way to get people at your website and then create a landing page for that. And then hopefully when they're there, they'll click around. And that's one click. Even if they don't buy anything, the more clicks you get, the more credible Google's going to think your website is. I mean, it gets more complex than that, but you get the idea. So that's the idea with the content. You might not sell anything at all for people reading your content on your website, but it generates clicks. And you're more likely to rank when somebody's searching for a gift bag if you're getting 1,000 clicks per day on some of the cool content you've created than if you're getting no content, no clicks whatsoever. Now, I don't think your business is local, but make sure if it is, you have it in Google My Business, Yelp, Yellow Pages, Better Business Bureau, stuff like that. I didn't see an address on your website, so I don't think it is. And the biggest ranking factor for local SEO, if you do have a local address, is to make sure you respond to all reviews, positive or negative. I did a gap analysis using Ahrefs. You can see here, these are 3 of your competitors that I found. Candy bags is getting searched for a lot, but its keyword difficulty is 1, which is very surprising to me. And I mean, there's a lot more analysis that could go into this. You got to parse it and do things. But these things with high volume and low keyword difficulty are things you might want to try to rank for. Now, I wouldn't keep it at candy bags. I would do candy bags for Halloween or wine bags for weddings, things that are very specific, because you have to have the niche. That's how you get started. Then, 2 years from now, once you've established consistent traffic, you could just try to rank for wine bags. But it's very difficult to do that nowadays. Make sure you have Google Analytics installed and you're using it. Make sure you have Google Search Console configured and you're using it. Check weekly, get the email alerts. Always check for manual actions. If there's any spam or malware on your site, you need to take care of those rapidly so you don't get penalized. And pay attention to what keywords are working and what are not. And you can optimize your content based on what's working and what's not working. Now, don't forget Bing. I think I discussed this, but Bing gets 10% of the traffic in other search engines. So make sure you submit to Bing, and that'll submit to Yahoo. That'll submit to other websites. This should be obvious. Don't duplicate content because you're shooting yourself in the foot. Definitely don't plagiarize. You can use this tool, and these tools aren't perfect. Also, if you find somebody else plagiarizing your content, you can contact them and have to try to take it down. Now, that doesn't always work, but it's something you definitely should do. backlinks still rule. The more backlinks you have from respectable websites coming to your website, the higher you're going to rank. That's a whole other topic. This is the best resource I found on the topic. This is what I do to rank my websites. Read it, watch the video. It's great, and you'll eventually start to rank. And I don't think I said this, but it's going to take with consistent work and doing all this stuff and updating to social media and writing content and all this stuff, it's going to take a good 6 months before you start seeing any results. Hero is help a reporter out. What this is, it's not really relevant to you, I don't think. Basically, reporters are always writing stories on different things. If there's something they are writing a report on that's related to your business, you can help them out. And what they'll do is they'll put a link to your website at the bottom of their article. So that would be really good if somebody from CNN or Fox News or whatever was writing an article on strategies for packaging gifts or whatever. I'd have to think through this. You help them write it with all of your knowledge, and then they'll, this person is the owner of this website, and getting a link back from CNN or Google or Yahoo or whatever would be huge. And I'm going through these really quickly because I don't want to make this video too long. So get Facebook and Twitter. So one thing that I do that I don't know if that does it, but it works for me perfectly. I actually make Willy Wonka replica products. So I'll come here, and people will be tweeting about everlasting gobstopper, and I'll look for people that say, I want an everlasting gobstopper. Look here, girl looking for everlasting gobstopper. I'll say, hey, I don't say it's me, this company has them, and I link to the site, and I'll get traffic from that. And I always do, I'll match the lowest price. Now, Gobstopper's so unique, I don't have to match the lowest price, but for something like boxes, when I reach out to these people, I would definitely offer the lowest price. And that reminds me, you definitely want to offer free shipping up at the top of your site if at all possible. And I would do lowest price match guarantee, at least at the beginning, to get traffic going up. So basically, an offer a deal. Pay attention to the trends. There's probably not a lot of trends in your business, but what I do, so I have a website that I write a lot of random things, interesting things. So who are the Kurds and why are they fighting? So what I'll do, like I Am Tulsi's trending. She's very anti-war, so I'd say this is a good article on who the Kurds are, and then paste it and whatever, and you get traffic that way. So I mean, it's specific to the content you're writing, but basically stay on top of trends and exploit those to drive traffic to your website. You definitely want live chat on your website. People love live chat. People like me aren't big talkers and somewhat feel uncomfortable on the phone at times. And if you don't have that, some people might bounce. And there's no reason to lose a customer if you can prevent it. Check for broken links. You can use this. I would do this once a day. If not once a month might be fine. Or you can get a script. Now I noticed you're not on WordPress. If you were on WordPress, you could automate a lot of this. But since you're not, you'll have to use scripts to automate a lot of it. So I'm going to pause here for a second. Actually, I'm not going to pause because last time that messed it up. Let me take a sip of water. To pop up or not to pop up, pop-ups work great, but they're very annoying. So I think what's reasonable is to have a pop-up come in from the bottom right corner or something to where it doesn't take up the entire screen, but it does pop up because that'll draw some eyeballs to it. Google Merchant Center, most people don't even know about Google Merchant Center, and it's crazy. If you go, a lot of times when you search for something, the products will show up here up top where you can buy them, like up here. You want that to happen. Or if they click on shopping, you want your product to show up. So you need to get your product into Google Merchant Center. So a lot of these things, you may not think they're SEO, but the goal of SEO is to get more traffic to your website and to make more sales. The techniques that work, like putting the right font on paragraph 2, they don't work anymore. You'll waste your money. Now test. So what UserBob is, UserBob is you pay $20 for 20 people to do a 1-minute review of your site. Now that's great to know what people are thinking, but the side benefit is a lot of times I do this, and you watch their screen as they navigate around. But what the side benefit is a lot of times people will come to my one of the websites I own, and it's broken to them. I would have never known that because it doesn't look broken to me. So this way you can see that. Now in Speclet, it's free for up to like 50 sessions. Let me see if I can get to it. 50 sessions per day. I thought I had it up here. So basically what it is, let me see if it's over here. Okay, you put a little free Java applet on your website, and it may not be something you want to keep on all the time, but you can watch people on your website and see how they're interacting with your website and the keywords they use to get to your website. So, will tire lose air if the valve stem is missing? So I'm not going to move my mouse here. This is somebody on my website navigating my webpage, so I can see it looks okay, and I can see how they're navigating and reading stuff. So I can start to see what works and what does not work. And that speed was at 4 times. You can do 1 time, 2 times, 8 times. So, and again, I'm blowing through these because these are all topics in themselves, but I don't want you to have to sit there for 8 hours and listen to all these things that I'm talking about. ReadyMobi and Browserling. So Browserling is a cool website. If you want to do the testing yourself, and there's other free websites that do this, you know, type in Windows 7 using Chrome 75, and you'll see what your website looks like using that combination of browser and operating system. So that's just a way for you to test your website on multiple layouts and multiple web browsers. So, and there's multiple websites that do this. Your copyright date at the bottom of your website says 2018. No big deal, but you want to change that. I set a calendar reminder to remind me to change that every year. I would do lowest price guarantee and actually live up to it initially until you get a lot more traffic. And I really think your traffic will increase once you fix the web page, once you have content, and once you get the schema working. Those are the 3 biggest things, and you're not doing either of them. So now, a thing I think would be unique for you, there's always people selling, like, and this is just an idea, how to make money on eBay. Reach out to these YouTube creators and say, hey, look, if you mention me in your next video, I will provide you with free shipping supplies or bags to ship your gifts out. Or, you know, so it may not be eBay, but it could be Make Crafts. And find people that, these websites that have 10 million views. So this may not be relevant, but you get the idea. Reach out to people who can promote, and maybe, you know, I don't know, maybe you can do it to where you don't have to pay anything. And I recommend advertising, even if it's like $5 a month. You get a lot of clicks on Facebook. And when you advertise, anybody that likes your advertisement, make sure you invite them to your page. Most people don't do that step because they don't know about it. They think if they like the ad, they'll automatically follow them. They don't. So make sure you do that. And again, we could get into A/B testing and all this stuff, but this is, you know, these are courses unto themselves. Reddit and Quora are very cost-effective places to advertise. I would create an ebook. People love ebooks. They love 50 best things to, or 50 ways to, 10 best reasons to, and then offer that free book and get people on your mailing list. Still, the best method to sell things is through email mailings. Email, is that the right word? Email newsletters. It's still the best way. And people are a lot more prone to sign up for your newsletter if you're offering them something for free. And generally when I do that, I don't send them more than maybe a post or 2 every couple months, because you don't want to overwhelm them. Now, one of the most difficult things is to keep up, and you can tell I'm rushing through this, is to keep up with all of the updates to SEO. Sign up for this newsletter at SEOroundtable.com. It's free. It compiles the daily news for SEO from websites from across the internet, and then you can click on them and read detailed articles of what's going on, but they usually summarize it, and you can get by with just understanding things that are changing. But I spend about 15 to 30 minutes every day just reading that, and then reading the Google Webmaster's Twitter account and John Moo, who's like the main search guy at Google. You want to understand what's going on and stay on top of it. But it doesn't take a lot of time if you know what to follow. Now, you could follow 30 different people, SEO people, and there's a lot of smart people on Twitter, but it's just going to take you a long time. Now, the last thing is the site tracking sheet. You buy these SEO tools, and they have reports, but they're largely useless. So what I have, this is for one site. I update it about once a month. And you can see here, this is my similar web score, month to month. I did it a lot more way back when. My Alexa global score, so you can see it's improving. When I started it, it was the 10 millionth most popular website in the world. Now it's down to 3 million. the number of Google backlinks, Google clicks, Google Analytics sessions, impressions, what's the value of my website, directory authority. So you can see, and this is something you just do once a month. It honestly takes about 20 minutes to do, and I can forward this to you if you'd like. But this is actually real data where you can track and make sure the things you're doing are working. Now, one thing that really helps, you do a GT metrics test once a month. If you do this and your GT metrics score went from 94 to 58, you know something's messed up and you need to go fix it. Now, if you didn't have this monthly routine set up, you might have never caught that. So that is everything as quickly as I could give it to you. I hope this helped. Hopefully you weren't looking for any magical solutions like formatting your text the right way or all that stuff, because it doesn't work. Do not buy backlinks. You will get penalized, and it's very difficult to recover from a Google penalty. But hopefully this helps. I went through it about as fast as I could without leaving out too information, and feel free to ask me any questions. See ya.